They had fame, they had millions, they had everything. But one addiction destroyed it all. From football legends to beloved TV icons, these British stars didn't just lose money, they lost their entire lives to gambling. And some of these stories are so shocking, you won't believe how far they fell. Michael Parkinson. Michael Parkinson was known as one of Britain's most respected and composed television hosts, famous for his calm interviews with the world's biggest stars. But behind that polished image, he faced a private battle with gambling. Over the years, Parkinson admitted to losing more than £500,000 through betting, a shocking figure even for someone of his success. What started as harmless fun slowly turned into a dangerous habit he couldn't control. He later described gambling as a disease that quietly takes over your life. Although he eventually spoke out to warn others, the financial and emotional toll had already left a lasting impact. George Best. George Best wasn't just a footballer, he was a global icon. At the peak of his career with Manchester United, he had everything: fame, wealth, and unmatched skill on the pitch. But off the field, Best lived a life of excess. Heavy gambling, combined with alcohol and a lavish lifestyle, quickly drained his fortune. Despite earning millions during his career, he struggled financially later in life, often admitting he couldn't control his habits. His famous quote, "I spent a lot of money on booze, birds, and fast cars, the rest I just squandered," perfectly captured his downfall. Best's story is both fascinating and tragic, a reminder that even the greatest talents can lose everything when addiction and temptation take control. Kerry Katona. Kerry Katona's rise to fame was nothing short of explosive. As a member of Atomic Kitten, she dominated the early 2000s pop scene and quickly became one of Britain's most recognizable celebrities. But behind the fame and glamorous lifestyle, her financial situation was spiraling out of control. A combination of reckless spending, poor financial decisions, and gambling habits pushed her into serious trouble. Katona was declared bankrupt not once, but twice, losing millions, her home, and major brand deals in the process. She later revealed how easy access to online gambling made things worse, turning occasional bets into a destructive cycle. At her lowest point, she faced public scrutiny and personal hardship. However, Kerry didn't give up. Through determination and honesty about her struggles, she slowly rebuilt her life and career, turning one of her darkest chapters into a powerful comeback story. John Daly. John Daly's story is one of the most shocking examples of how gambling can destroy even the biggest fortunes. Known for his powerful swing and larger-than-life personality, Daly became a fan favorite after winning major championships, including the Open Championship. But off the course, his life was spiraling into chaos. Daly openly admitted to losing over $50 million through gambling, an almost unbelievable amount. He revealed nights where he would win millions, only to lose it all within hours in casinos, particularly during his time in the UK. His addiction wasn't just about money, it became a dangerous cycle of highs and devastating lows. Combined with his party lifestyle, gambling overshadowed his incredible talent and success. Daly later confessed that he had actually earned far more in his career than he ever kept. His story stands as a powerful warning of how quickly success can vanish when addiction takes control. Boy George. Boy George rose to global fame in the 1980s as the flamboyant frontman of Culture Club, becoming one of the most recognizable figures in pop music. With chart-topping hits and a unique style, he earned millions and lived a life many could only dream of. However, behind the glamour, his life was far from stable. Alongside well-documented struggles with substance abuse, Boy George also faced serious financial difficulties over the years. Reports of reckless spending and periods of poor financial management, along with rumored gambling habits, contributed to his money troubles. At certain points in his career, he found himself dealing with legal issues and declining income, which further strained his finances. Despite these setbacks, Boy George managed to rebuild his career through music, DJing, and television appearances. His journey shows how quickly success can slip away, but also proves that reinvention is possible, even after hitting rock bottom. Michael Barrymore. Michael Barrymore was once one of the biggest names on British television, commanding massive audiences and earning millions through hit shows like Strike It Lucky. At the height of his fame, he was among the highest-paid entertainers in the UK. However, his life took a dramatic turn when personal controversies began to overshadow his career. As his TV opportunities disappeared, so did his steady income. Reports also suggested that a combination of excessive spending and gambling habits contributed to his financial decline. Without the constant flow of television work, maintaining his lavish lifestyle became impossible. Over time, Barrymore faced serious financial difficulties, losing much of the wealth he had built during his peak years. Despite attempts at comebacks, he never fully regained his former status. His story highlights how quickly fame and fortune can vanish when personal struggles, controversy, and poor financial decisions collide. Keith Gillespie. Keith Gillespie's story is one of the most heartbreaking examples of gambling addiction in football. A talented winger who played for top clubs like Manchester United and Newcastle United, Gillespie earned millions during his career, but lost almost all of it to gambling. He later revealed that he had blown around £7 million, placing bets constantly, sometimes even on matches he was involved in. What made his addiction even more shocking was how uncontrollable it became. He admitted to gambling immediately after games, unable to resist the urge. At his lowest point, money no longer mattered, it was all about the thrill. Despite earning huge wages, he often found himself broke. Eventually, Gillespie sought help and opened up about his struggles, becoming a powerful voice against gambling addiction. His story shows how even elite athletes at the top of their game can lose everything when addiction takes over their lives. Terry Wogan. Terry Wogan, one of Britain's most beloved broadcasters, built a career spanning decades, charming audiences with his wit, warmth, and effortless style on both radio and television. While he never faced the extreme financial pitfalls of some of his contemporaries, Wogan once admitted to experiencing minor gambling losses early in his life. These losses were modest compared to the millions lost by other celebrities, but they serve as an important reminder, even small gambling habits can become risky if left unchecked. Wogan's disciplined approach to work and life likely prevented his habits from escalating, but his honesty about these early experiences resonated with many who saw him as the epitome of charm and reliability. His story highlights that gambling isn't only dangerous in extremes, awareness and moderation are key, even for those who seem most in control. It's a subtle yet valuable lesson from a life lived in the public eye. Paul Merson. Paul Merson's career was full of highs and lows, both on and off the pitch. A talented midfielder for clubs like Arsenal and Aston Villa, he earned millions and was widely celebrated for his skill and vision. However, behind the scenes, Merson struggled with severe gambling addiction, which drained his wealth and caused deep personal turmoil. Combined with alcohol and drug problems, his addiction reached a point where he risked not just his career, but his family life and health. Merson has openly shared how betting became an uncontrollable habit, often leading him to make reckless decisions that further jeopardized his finances and reputation. Hitting rock bottom forced him to confront his demons, and with therapy and support, he slowly rebuilt his life. Today, Paul Merson is a powerful advocate against gambling addiction, using his story to educate others about its dangers and the importance of seeking help before it's too late. His journey is a stark reminder that even the brightest stars can fall if addiction takes control. Jimmy White. Jimmy White, one of snooker's most celebrated figures, is known as much for his remarkable talent as for his near-miss streaks in major championships. Off the table, however, White faced a very different kind of challenge, gambling. Over decades, he reportedly lost millions, despite earning substantial prize money and sponsorships throughout his career. His addiction wasn't just occasional betting, it became a persistent problem that affected his finances and personal life. White's story shows that success in sport doesn't automatically protect against the lure of gambling. The constant highs and lows of his addiction mirrored the tension of his famous matches, creating a life marked by both glory and struggle. Even as he remained a fan favorite and an icon in the snooker world, his financial troubles serve as a cautionary tale, talent and fame can't always shield someone from the destructive power of addiction. Through it all, Jimmy White continues to compete, showing resilience despite the heavy personal cost of his gambling habits. Danny Baker. Danny Baker, the outspoken British broadcaster and writer, is best known for his witty charm on radio and television. Behind the humor, however, Baker has faced significant financial struggles over the years. He has openly admitted that poor money management, combined with gambling phases, led to serious financial difficulties, at one point threatening his stability and career prospects. Baker's gambling wasn't just casual betting, it sometimes became a compulsive habit, making it difficult to keep his finances under control. Despite these challenges, his honesty about mistakes provides a rare glimpse into how quickly things can spiral out of control, even for someone seemingly successful in the public eye. Over time, Baker rebuilt his career, returning to radio and television with renewed focus, proving that recovery and reinvention are possible. His story serves as a cautionary tale for anyone tempted by the thrill of gambling, showing that even talented and charismatic figures can face the harsh consequences of risky financial choices. Stan Collymore. Stan Collymore, once a celebrated striker for clubs like Nottingham Forest, Liverpool, and Aston Villa, earned fame and fortune through his footballing talent. Yet off the pitch, his story reveals a darker side, a long struggle with gambling. Collymore admitted to placing large bets during and after his playing career, sometimes risking sums that far exceeded prudent limits. While he never declared formal bankruptcy, the financial losses he suffered were substantial, affecting both his lifestyle and long-term financial security. Beyond the numbers, gambling also took a personal toll, contributing to stress and public scrutiny. Collymore has since spoken candidly about his experiences, emphasizing how addictive habits can sneak into even the most disciplined lives. His journey serves as a cautionary tale, showing that professional success and talent cannot shield someone from the dangers of gambling. Even those who appear in control can face serious consequences when passion turns into addiction. These stories prove one thing: fame doesn't protect you from addiction. From football legends to TV icons, gambling has destroyed fortunes, careers, and lives. The real question is, who's next?